everybody, welcome back into Pritches Get Stitches. We're glad you found us. Glad you're here, Holly. How you doing today? It's like a clearly Canadian over there.
You know, it is. Remember when we used to drink the hell out of these when we were kids?
Oh, yeah.
Well, today I had to, okay, so first of all, we weren't going to record because you have company. With,
lots of people here.
Children. And so I laid in bed until you finally texted and said, okay, they're going to the pool. So then I was like, shoot. So I had to hurry and get up and get ready. Well, then you were like, I'll let you know when they go to the pool. Took a minute and I got ready pretty quickly. It doesn't take me very long. So I was like, oh, I have time to run to World Market to get some stuff to try for the What Are We Eating? And as I was getting ready to check out, I saw they had cold Clearly Canadians and I had to get us both.
Yeah, it's good. It takes me back to going to Mickey's right there on the corner and picking up Clearly Canadians. Not as good as I remember them being, but you know.
You know what's funny is I don't even like sparkling water, but there's something about a Clearly Canadian. I think it just must be nostalgia.
It is for sure.
But they're not great.
No, they're not very good. They are definitely not very good, but they're better than the Jelly Belly ones I was drinking. That's for sure.
That is true. Very true. And better than the Topo Chico.
Yeah, Jared actually, he's like, I wonder if I put sugar into it, if it would taste good. So he actually dumped it into a glass, put some sugar, and he's like, it's delicious. I'm like, it defeats the purpose, but whatever. Whatever.
He's trying to gain weight, I guess.
Yeah. Eat all the sugar you want, buddy. But so Holly, we are 3 episodes in and we have yet to discuss the decor change behind you.
Yes. We were going to discuss it and then we had Greg on and then we just forgot last week.
Yeah.
So
both times we forgot. But anyways, Val is experimenting with what she likes, what she doesn't like. So right now we got 2 chairs in there. And then as you can tell with the painting on the wall, it still has the tags and everything on it because she just doesn't know if she wants to keep it yet. So here we are.
You know, she could take the things off the corners. So when I was married, my ex and I used to love to decorate and we would always want to switch it up because, you know, after a while, our favorite place to go was Home Goods. And so we'd end up going there every few months and we'd find new decor that we wanted. So we ended up, what we would do is keep all of the tags and everything on the back of it.
Yeah.
And then have it hanging in our house for like 3 to 6 months. And we knew after a certain amount of time, they don't give you a cash refund. They give you a store credit, but we didn't care. So we would just take it back and get our use out of it, take it back, swap it out, use our store credit towards the next thing. So I get it.
Yeah.
Decide if you want it.
So I think that's all Home Goods over there. Yep. I think it's all Home Goods. So we'll see. We may have new decor as we go on, but
I do like those chairs though. I like that little setup. We used to have to drag in the living room chairs every week to set up.
Yes. There's usually nothing there, but now if that stays, that's a permanent fixture. So anyways, well, Holly, this week, past couple days, actually, the past 3 days have been filled with anger towards Apple products. Just FYI, I'm gonna give an unpopular opinion here, but I hate Apple products, and I've never even owned one. But
I used to have one.
So I bought the very first Droid that came out back when Droids came out, and I just never changed. And then I had a company I was working with, process serving, and they had an Android app that we had to use, and so I just kept Android forever. And my daughter, Ava, comes to me and she says, Dad, here's a baggie with $350 I've been saving. I'd like to buy an Apple Watch. And so we kind of going back and forth. And I'm like looking up how can this thing work with Android? Obviously it can't. One of our nephews ended up sending me his old Apple iPhone, so we could set up this watch. So we go and we get it.
Can I interject real fast though?
Yeah.
So when she's old enough to have a phone, her Apple Watch is not going to work with her Droid. So you're going to either have to get an Apple phone.
And we'll figure it out.
Or she's wasting $350 on an Apple Watch that she's not going to be able to use when she gets a phone in 2 years or a year, whenever you decide to give it to her. Just, food for thought.
I know. That's gone through my mind. It's her money. Tried to talk her out of it. But anyways, we bring it home. I go to set it up. Won't set up to cellular service. Won't do anything. Won't make calls. It's a standalone watch. So it's supposed to work on its own.
Does she know you bought it yet?
Oh, yeah, she knows.
Oh, okay.
She went in with me to buy it. So I spend hours till like 1 a.m. with tech support for Verizon. They can't figure it out. Oh, it's this. Oh, now our systems keep intermittently dropping things and closing. And so call back tomorrow. Oh, no. So basically I call back the next morning and I was on the phone for an hour and a half and they're like, yeah, we don't know what's going on. So I'm like, you know what? Let me go. They're like, we got to put a ticket in. It's going to be 3 to 5 days. I'm like, I just bought this thing. So I go back to the Verizon store yesterday. The guy I talked to, he's like, oh yeah, so let's call tech support. They do something. They're like, it's going to be 30 minutes to 2 hours and 100% guaranteed it will work. And I'm like, I don't believe you, but okay. Wait 2 hours, wait 3 hours, still doesn't work. Go back to the Verizon store. And the girl who actually helped us, she gets on the phone with technical support and they do something, turn it off, turn it on 8,000 times. do a few little things here and there. All of a sudden it works. And it works great.
Might have just been faster for you to go to the Apple store.
Well, it was a Verizon issue. It couldn't get the signal from Verizon. I don't know, like the SIM issue, like the SIM card inside.
Got it.
So finally it works. It works all the way up until about 3 hours ago. And then it's doing the same exact thing. So I call back technical support and they're like, yeah, I mean, and yesterday I'm like, can we just start fresh? Can I just get a new one? Just swap me out. And then they're like, well, Apple has a 1-year warranty. I'm like, I just bought this thing less than 24 hours ago. Like, come on. And they're like, well, we got to go through all these. So anyways, get on the phone with technical support and they're like, yeah, we don't know. Like, it just needs a new watch. I'm like, can I just go to the store and get one? Because they're like, well, you'll have to send it in and then you'll have to wait and we'll send you one back. And I'm like, guys, I just wanted to set this thing up. And like, so anyways, I walked out and I'm like, this is my first and last Apple product I will ever purchase. And they're like, yeah. No. And so now, real quick, so now the final solution is I have to go back to the Verizon store. They put notes in. They said that I can go to the Verizon store and swap it out and not have to pay restocking fee or anything. Ridiculous. And I'm like, this is like, what is happening?
You know, I had an Apple when they first came out with the iPhone. So I was married to my second husband. He had the iPhone 2. I don't even know if it was called the iPhone 2, but it was the one before the 3. So I assume it was the 2. And he talked me into going from the BlackBerry Pearl to the iPhone. So I had an iPhone. I had the 3G. He had the 3GS. His phone ended up breaking out, but we had paid for Apple Care. And that's like $90 or $100 a phone or whatever the deal is. We paid for it. We get it in and they're like, yeah, we can't figure it out. I'm like, well, then you guys have to give us a new phone, right? And they're like, well, we don't have any more of this model because it was like the day the 4 was released. They're like, we only have the 4. And I'm like, okay, well, then I guess you'll have to give us one of those. They're like, no, because you didn't reserve it. And I'm like, his phone broke. So like, we'll give you a 3G. I'm like, no, you're not going to like downgrade. So anyway, like long story, just pissed me off. We walked across the street. There was a Samsung store. We walked across the street and picked up, it was the Samsung Blackjack. It was the first Droid I had. And I've not gone back. And everybody's like, how do you know, it's like on dating apps, people will be like, how come my texts from you are green? And I'm like, does it matter? Like, did you get my text? Did you get my text? And they're
because
like,
I have a superior
yeah, but there's
phone.
some features. And I'm like, oh, you can't go in and edit a text? Like, I don't know. It just drives me nuts. They're like, and then on some of the profiles, it'll say like, if your messages are green, don't match with me. And I'm like, oh, wow, really? Like it's a phone.
Loser.
So anyway, yeah, I just crack up with, I don't know, iPhone users are so snobby. I just don't care. I'm like, can my phone text to you? It can? Great. We can communicate. We can make calls. Who gives a shit what color your text messages are?
Yeah, so I'm really frustrated. It's been 3 days. I mean, 2 days, I guess. 48 hours
of this figure out the phone situation.
We'll figure that out later. I actually was open to the idea of like, okay, maybe we'll switch to iPhone because we don't have that company doesn't contract with us anymore. So I don't have to have Android, but I'm just like, so I don't care if it's Verizon's fault or if it's Apple's fault. I don't know whose fault it is. All I know is it should not be that hard to connect a watch to a phone and make it work. Like it's not even connected to the phone is the thing. It's just you connect it one time to like get it going.
Right.
And it can't even get going.
Can you monitor like on her watch the way you can on the phones, or does it not have all the features that you have to worry about?
So I can't monitor like I can on the phones. However, the iPhone that we have, so we do have the iPhone, we're going to keep it. All her text messages all sync up from the watch to the phone. So we're in charge of the phone. Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, I know that's an unpopular opinion because for some reason people love Apple, but I just hate them.
And I get it. Like they're like, it's superior as far as like security and stuff. But I'm like, I mean, I don't know.
Nobody's broken in the
day it was right. But
nobody's broken into my phone and like hacked my phone. So I'm
right. So I don't think that's a valid excuse anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So anyways, unpopular opinion for the day. And with that unpopular opinion. So with that, Holly, you went to the store and you purchased a bunch of stuff at World Market for us to try. And thankfully, I did not see gefilte fish in there, I hope. Unless you're going to spring it on me.
Okay, there was one thing that I considered buying, but then I remembered I had to eat it too. And it was pork sausages or pork hot dogs, but it was like in a jar in oil. Oh. And it's from like Germany or something. And I was this close.
We should try Vienna sausages again one day. Oof. Just forked up, broken up with the fork and
with
mayonnaise.
Some mayo on a sandwich. We used to eat the hell out of that.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. So what are we eating today? What are we trying today, I should say?
So I don't know. I bought a bunch of different stuff and I showed you what we brought and I decided that you get to choose.
Oh.
So.
Am I supposed to come in here and choose?
Just go in there, close your eyes, choose something. Don't be trying to find the candy. I know you. I know that's what you're doing. Uh-oh. What did we get?
What did we get? Fried crab flavored potato chips.
This is why I freaking love World Market, though. They have like random stuff from all over all these different countries.
Wow.
And I don't love, but I love that they have all those different stuff. So that's the other reason I picked us up some Clearly Canadians. Because I was hoping that could, if we had to eat something bad.
Woo!
No?
Go.
All right.
Fried crab flavored potato
Fried
chips.
crab. I do love fried crab.
I think they're probably gonna be good.
potatoes.
I think they'll be good.
I feel like they'll be pretty good. Okay. Here we go. Ready?
Yeah.
They do have a strong, strong smell. 3, 2, 1.
Tastes like fried crab. It's not bad.
Not bad.
I mean, it's not
I don't
great.
know that I would eat them. Trying to think what I would eat those with. Maybe like a po' boy sandwich.
I mean, they're not horrible. I mean, they're good. I mean, if I don't know that I would go to the store and buy them.
Ooh, the aftertaste. I burped it. Burp it though.
I don't know that I'd go buy them and be like, hey, we're having fried crab potato chips with dinner. But if somebody had them, like you just had them, I'd probably eat them.
Interesting. I didn't think they were good enough to eat another. I mean, they're definitely crabby, and I love crab. I just don't like a fried crab flavored potato chip, I don't think.
Yeah, they're all right. It's not horrible.
Yeah, they're definitely not horrible. Definitely had worse. Seafood snacks, way worse, or seaweed.
Oh, baking soda. I don't know. I'd take that over baking soda.
I might take that over probably most of the bad stuff.
Yeah, that's
I don't
not
know,
the bad.
though,
I would put that.
It depends on how much we'd have to eat of it, though. If I had to eat that whole bag,
I don't know. I might eat it. I might just shout out on those. I would not put that in the horrible section.
correct. I'd put that in the neutral. Like, not good, not bad.
It probably wouldn't buy it again.
If I had to eat it, like if I'm like starving and I haven't eaten for the day and that's all I have to eat, I could probably eat the bag.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. World Market, Lay's fried crab flavored.
Are they from Korea?
Korea, probably. I don't know. It didn't say. An Asian country. That's all I know.
I don't know what country that is. What language? But what's your favorite Clearly Canadian flavor?
Orchard peach.
Oh, okay.
I almost got you mountain blackberry because I do like that. And then I like the wild cherry, but they have a new one. They have a couple new flavors. So one, they just have a sparkling water, no flavor. They've never had that before.
Yeah, probably won't.
And then
either.
they have a grapefruit.
Mm.
And I was
Grapefruit.
like, nope, that sounds terrible. Like a grapefruit drink.
Well, I guess like Squirt's grapefruit flavored, right?
I guess so. But I don't really like Squirt either. That's probably my least favorite of, I won't say all sodas, but.
Fresca.
Is Fresca grapefruit?
I'm pretty sure.
I know Mom loves
Wow,
Fresca,
wow.
but I haven't had Fresca in years.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whew.
Mountain Dew's pretty good. You like Mountain Dew?
I used to drink a lot of Mountain Dew back in the day.
Not me, because I had Yellow 5. And according to middle schoolers, Yellow 5 makes your balls small. So you don't drink Yellow 5. Did you never know that?
I don't have balls, so I guess nobody ever warned me. I used to drink like a 6-pack of the 24-ounce a day.
Maybe Yellow 5 was like, I mean, maybe it was like if you drink like enormous quantities of it.
Right.
But as a middle schooler, it's like they're all like, oh, you can't drink Mountain Dew. You got Yellow 5. You're going to make your balls small. And so you just didn't drink Mountain Dew because,
I drink it so much.
Everything's true in middle school.
Yeah. And I drink it so much that my doctor's like, no, you're getting caffeine nodules. You need to stop drinking that. Like,
speaking of caffeine, so last night, a little health journey update. Last night, my sister-in-law and her husband are in town, and for a few days, like you talked about, and he's been down. He's in the military, so he's a doctor, and he was down at Guantanamo Bay working down there. Yeah. And so he just got back. He was there for a year. He got back. Then they're moving to North Carolina from El Paso, so they're passing through. And anyways, he wanted some real like Texas barbecue. So
if you went to Pecan Lodge and didn't call me, I swear to God, I'm going to crawl over this counter and punch you in the face.
Okay, first things first. I would never drive to Deep Ellum to go to dinner.
Okay, fair point.
Because I want to drive that
Well, you
far.
were answering me last night when I sent that, and I was like, he went to Pecan Lodge, and he knows I'm going to be like, you motherfucker.
Come on, I told you went to Tinder. Eventually, I told you went to Tinder.
Oh, I thought you were saying you got brisket, and the brisket was Tinder.
Oh,
that's
no.
what I thought you were saying, because we talked about how brisket's always dry or whatever.
So
that's why I was like, well, what's Tinder? The brisket?
I must not realize that. So anyways, this place called Tinder. There were a couple locations, a couple places we could have gone, but we didn't go till about 8. last night because they kind of had a late lunch and we only had till 9. Every place closed at 9. So that was the closest one. Anyways, we go there and I did get brisket and I get a little update on that. It wasn't bad. Like it didn't sit in my stomach. Maybe I got to give this thing another shot. This whole barbecue experience. But the brisket was good. And then I ordered pulled pork, but they brought me a sausage, jalapeno sausage, which was good too.
I was a little confused as to why you had that because I was like, I didn't know you're like a sausage.
Yeah, I asked for pulled pork, but they put in the sausage. So what do you do?
I can say I asked for pulled pork.
Yeah, I know, but then I just ate it anyway. So it's good. Like, well, whatever.
Told you to keep the sausage and they bring you pulled pork. See? Come on, man.
Well, according to everybody at the table, it rang up as sausage. So I was like, I'm not gonna make a deal. Everybody else, they had pulled pork on the other side. If I wanted someone to gotten a taste. Well, anyways, so I'm open now to barbecue because it did not sit in my stomach like it used to do. However, they did have only like sodas on tap, right? That was it. And I did get a Dr. Pepper and it was late. It was like 8:30, 9 o'clock when we left and I was drinking Dr. Pepper. Bro, like I haven't had caffeine in a while, especially at night. Dude, I could not sleep last night. I could not sleep. I was just like, my brain was all over the place and I was like rolling around in my bed. It was ridiculous. Yeah. Like what caffeine will do.
I don't drink a lot of caffeine after. I try not to drink it after about probably noon or 1 because it will definitely, especially if I drink like coffee or a few Dr. Peppers. But that's only been in the last couple of years. I used to be able to drink Dr. Pepper at night and go right to sleep. It didn't affect me. But must be one of those, the older you get.
So. Or maybe you're just not used to it. Like I'm just not used to it right now because I used to be able to drink Dr. Pepper and just go to bed, no problem.
Oh, that's true. You haven't had it in a while.
Last night.
You've had it twice this week at least.
I did. This week kind of fell off the bandwagon here with the health journey.
Same. I was going to tell you that when we started. I was going to be like, I haven't done so great this week.
I was up 2 pounds, but still down 7 total. So, it's a journey, right? You have ups and downs and you got twists and turns. So,
but you went to the gym today. So good on you. I laid in bed until the absolute last minute. So I'm not up. I'm not down. So I figure that's good. I'm just at the same spot.
Yeah, that's fine.
I only worked out twice this week, but I will say Wednesday we were out and about serving papers and I work. So didn't have a chance to row that day. But yesterday my back was really tight and I was really concerned like, great, I'm going to have these issues. But I think it's because I worked out at the gym this week and I worked on core.
At the gym
at the apartment. Yeah. So I did. I hit the gym at the apartment, but I think it's just because I did core. And so my back was really tight yesterday. And today feels fine. So I'm thinking that it was just probably tight because it's not used to those exercises again. And I need to incorporate them in. So, but this week, I had some beers this week, couple nights. So had some Wingstop. I kind of just threw caution to the wind and I had that week. And then I was like, all right, starting Monday, back up again.
Well, I think I did some like stress eating yesterday. I did go also to
iPhone.
Yes. So it's just like anxiety and stress, and here we paid this money. It's not even my money.
Right.
My daughter paid it.
It's not working.
And I'm just trying to, I want to make sure she gets what she paid for and everything, and it's not working, and it's just annoying and it's frustrating, and I'm up till 1 o'clock in the morning. Then I'm up again at 8 o'clock and then I'm at the store and then nobody seems to be able to get this thing fixed. And anyways, then I remembered I had to do payroll and that just stresses me out. Like it stresses me out. I just don't like to do it. And so I'm like,
to hire somebody in your office to do payroll.
I know. I could,
I'll do payroll for you.
So I did go to Raising Cane's yesterday and also got some chicken.
Dang, you've eaten out. That's at least 3 times you've eaten out this week. Cause you and I went, I will say Wednesday,
I did have a lot of caffeine because I think I had Dr. Pepper too there.
Yeah, you had Dr. Pepper there. So we went, worked, served papers, grabbed lunch, and I got home that night. And all day long, I was just feeling tired. Like I got home, just was like struggling to stay awake. I also was like feeling unfocused on stuff. Like I'm going to work on this report today. And I sat down to work on the report and could not focus on it. I go to bed that night, go to take my night meds. I realized I didn't take my day meds. And all day, also after lunch, I was like, oh my gosh, like I just felt like heartburn. I was like, man, that's real bad today. Well, I didn't take my heartburn medicine. So it was a rough day Wednesday. And
so yesterday I ate out twice and lots of Dr. Pepper. And I just ate my way through my anxiety and my stress. And I realized on my way home, like it's something that you've talked about, like, you have anxiety eating. And I just kind of putting it together. Like I'm still figuring out this journey of the life journey of mine and any mental illnesses or any, issues that I may have that I'm still trying to figure out. And I straight up did that because I was like a ton of anxiety with it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I need to, figure that out. So It's
No, I get it. Speaking of life journeys, I had EMDR, so therapy on Monday.
uh,
And I always dread going, like all the way up into the moment that I'm sitting there in the office. I'm like, I could just cancel. Like she's going to charge me, but I don't care. Just because it's so like, even when I had regular therapy, not just EMDR, when I was doing talk therapy, you just know it's going to be like draining and something's always going to come up that you don't even
right.
realize. And so I've been lately just really struggling with being, bored and restless. Right. And I had signed up like, hey, I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to do this. And partly was because student loans were due, but partly just like I'm bored out of my mind.
Right.
So I go into EMDR and we're sitting there and we start talking and we're going to do like a EMDR on like boredom, basically.
Right.
I won't get into all like how it all works out, but as far as like how did we come to the conclusion to do boredom? But so as we're sitting there, it's like with the EMDR, it's really cool because you like close your eyes and then she starts her little tappers, which, rotate and then the tone in your ear. And then you just basically like your body, like whatever comes to your mind, that's what you talk about. And I realized that the reason I've been focusing on like feeling restless and bored is because the underlying feeling was guilt.
Right.
Like I felt guilt that I'm not doing more because I've always been the type that's 2 and 3 jobs, always working, going to school, doing something. And for the first time in my life, really, it's like, I don't have anything to do. I'm just kind of chilling. And so every night, if I'm just sitting there watching TV, then it's like, I would feel bored, but it's really that underlying guilt
Right.
of just doing nothing.
Yeah,
And
like not filling your time like you used to fill your time.
right. And so like sitting there in that, it was like, I just had this like epiphany, I guess, while I was sitting there, like, I don't have to do more. Like I worked hard
Yeah.
my whole life to get me to this point, to have a job that it's not my favorite job. I'm not going to lie, but I will say that I enjoyed it a lot more this week after coming to the realizations I had on Monday, that it's like, hey, this job, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, if I ever thought I'd be in the tech industry as a director, would have never been like, oh yeah, that's my dream.
Right.
But it affords me a lot of opportunities to do things. And for the first time, like Monday night was the first time in years that I really just sat and enjoyed watching TV and didn't feel guilt over anything or boredom. And I realize also like, I'm just like in this, for the first time in my life, there's not chaos going on. I'm not having to take care of somebody else or anything. And I don't have to worry about anything but myself.
Right.
And I'm being real guarded with that. And I think that's also why I've kind of struggled with the dating lately. Cause it's like, I keep saying like, I don't want to put effort into it and everything, which I don't, but it's also like, when I guess in my brain, I must associate like the relationships I've had have been pretty chaotic and,
Right.
And it's like, I just don't want that. I just want to keep my peace and my calm.
Yeah.
And when we talked about like me being bored, I was like, it's because there's no challenge, I'm not challenged in anything, blah, blah, blah. And then, she brought up, do you think that's why you date the men you date? And I'm like, oh my God, that's it. Like I find guys who are like, this is crazy, but it's like the mentally healthy, secure attached guys. I'm like, you're boring. I need somebody who's like chaos and crazy because it's a challenge. And it's like, yeah, for the first time in my life, it's like, wow, I don't want somebody crazy or a challenge. I just want to enjoy me. And if somebody happens to come along, great. But I'm also not going to put effort into, and I'm not saying I'm not going to put effort into a relationship, but I'm not like when you're first getting.
You're not going to put it all out there to like if it, so if it happens, it happens. You know what I mean? Like if something happens, it happens, but you're not like, oh, I've got to dress up nice and do all these things to go out to find somebody. I don't want to put in all this effort because I just want to do me right now.
And that's it. Like the bottom line is like, I just want to do me. And like, if somebody comes along and I meet them, great. If not, great. But like the one guy I was telling you about who had his son and then like, we're supposed to meet up. So
did that ever happen?
It didn't, because he's rain checked on me. And I'm like, you know what? Like you're putting no effort in. You don't have your son. You haven't had your son now for a week. And we were supposed to go out Tuesday. Then you're like, oh, I'm exhausted. Then let's go out tomorrow. Then we're supposed to go out Wednesday. Last minute, he canceled. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like,
did you tell him you're a director at a tech company?
Yeah, he knows. Like he's known that. But it's also like,
he's like boring.
Probably. But he's the one who talked to me for the last month. But I was just like, if he asked me out, I think I'm just going to say no, thanks. And the reason is like, one, like obviously you're not interested enough in me to want to go out. Like we've been waiting a month to meet and then you keep blowing me off. But then two, like you're bringing your kid in as the reason. It makes me remember why I don't want to date somebody with kids. Not that that's bad. If somebody has kids, that's great. That's all on them. But if I'm getting canceled on because I'm too exhausted to do something because I had to go take care of my kid, no thanks.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just
So you talked about so your dating life is affected by this being bored because you're
right.
realizing, hey, chaos is going on. But then you told me something else you kind of had an epiphany of while going through that and realizing, why am I so bored?
Oh yeah, so I was bringing all of this up in the first place, ADHD, to tell you that I decided that I'm not going to school. Like I don't. I'm such an like I know I'm an overachiever. And so I always feel like I have to be doing more and
Right.
getting more degrees or getting another job, making more money. And I kind of was just sitting there thinking about it all day, like all week. And it was like, man, like, do I want to do this for the next 3 years of my life? Like devote. And so I started thinking about it and I was like, what am I going to do with this degree if I get it? Nothing. I have no plans to change my career.
You're
There's
not going to
like,
become Jack Ryan.
right. Like I can't even if I wanted to, like you can't get appointed into that type of position with the CIA, FBI or anything after your 37th birthday. Like you have to be in an agent position by that date. So I could go in as
Gotcha.
like, hey, I can go in as I don't know, an accountant or whatever after,
You could
but
be Money Penny.
right. But like who wants to be Moneypenny when you could be Bond? You know what I mean?
That's true.
So
Well, you can't be Bond. You're too old.
I know. So that's the point. So anyway, I just decided like not only that, so I'm under the impression like, yes, I have to pay $1,500 a month in student loans. So then I'm like, wait a minute, like surely, like if I go on and say like, hey, I can't pay that, or I don't want to pay that much. So I was on a plan that was taking 10% of my income essentially. And I'm like, well, I don't want to pay that much. So then I start looking, I'm like, oh, I can get on this plan that I'm paying significantly less.
Yeah.
Yes, in the end, I'm paying longer.
Right.
I'm putting in more
Probably
interest,
more interest.
but
Yeah.
I don't really care. Like I've accepted the
Pay a
fact
little bit.
right, there's two things in life that I've accepted. I will always have a car payment and I will always have a student loan payment. Like, and I'm okay with those two things. So,
And you'll always have to pay your taxes.
right, and always have to pay taxes. So I put in for that, like, hey, I'm going to change my plan. So they're like, okay. I emailed the program at Penn State, told them I wasn't going to be going this semester. And then they were like, well, are you withdrawing completely or
Oh, did you burn your ships?
I didn't. So I just said no, because I was like, because she's like, or do you plan on coming back in the future? And I thought, well, I don't want to burn it because the difference is if I withdrew completely, if I reapplied, I'd have to go through all the paperwork and references and everything
Right.
again. Where if I just say, hey, I'm going to hold off on this, it doesn't matter if I come back like in 5 years or 10 years. I don't have to get all of that information again, send it all over. I already have a place in the program. So I just decided to not do that. Like I'm not going to withdraw completely, but I just think it's like I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, I'm probably moving in January to Tampa. And like when I envision my life, all I want to do is like wake up early and surf, work, go surf on my lunch, work again, go to the beach, go to some concerts, have some beer. Like none of that includes doing schoolwork.
Yeah,
So I was like,
for sure.
yeah, no, I just don't want to do it. And I love school. I love learning. I love writing papers. I was super excited about it. But now I'm excited just to enjoy life without feeling guilt for not accomplishing more or doing more. And I think it's like I have this failure complex.
Yeah, I think once you get somewhere where you're doing what you love, obviously Texas does not provide the things that you love, and the thing you love is going to the beach. And
Right.
I mean, yes, you can go to the beach here. I got it, but it's Galveston or it's South Padre, and
Right.
it's not Florida beaches. So I think once you get a chance to get out there, it'll take away the boredom. Even though you're just sitting there, probably sitting there doing the same thing you would be doing at home on your couch, which is sitting there. There's a difference, obviously, being
Right.
out in the ocean, in the ocean air and the breeze and the sand and the things you love, as opposed to, I'm sitting on my couch. You know what I mean?
Right. And the thing
And
like and that was one of the other like epiphanies I had was like, yeah, I'm bored now, but I'm not going to be bored forever.
right,
Like this is a very short time
Mhm.
that I'm going to be bored in the grand scheme of things.
right, and it's just
So,
a transition period for you. You're like, hey, where do I want to go? You came here to transition.
right.
When you said, hey, I'm coming down to Texas, and essentially, I feel like you would have probably made the decision in June when you were initially going to move from Utah. I think you would
Right.
have made that decision in June to move your stuff one time to
Right.
Florida, as opposed to having to move here because you were here already kind of living. Your landlord was like, hey, sign a lease or beat it. And
Right.
so you decided to move out. Um,
Right. And I think that when I do decide or when I do go to Florida, I'm just going to put all my stuff in storage here and go there, get a place probably for 6 months. Go there for about 6 months. Got a lot of action going on back there.
they came home from the pool, made it home. We didn't record fast enough.
But yeah, so I just plan on like keeping all my stuff in storage and then going there, probably just finding a place, that's furnished somewhere close to the beach just to see if I like it. Because if I don't like it, I don't want to have to pay to move all my stuff there. Then I find out like, actually living on the beach isn't all it's cracked up to be. Now I got to move it all somewhere else. So that's just kind of my plan.
That was my idea.
That was your idea. It was a good idea.
You just can't keep it in my house. You gotta get a storage.
Now I'll get a storage unit. But I will say, talking about going back to like that boredom, like one of the things, and I've been watching a lot of TV.
Uh-huh.
And that's not anything that I normally would do. Like I didn't own a TV up in Utah for a while, like a long while, or one that worked, because then it ended up breaking. The TV I had ended up like going out, but it was it was before Anthony moved out. So we didn't even have a TV. And I finally got a TV, I think, when I moved here, but I didn't even have one before that. But T-Mobile gave away Apple TV, like 6 months of Apple TV.
So is this the only Apple thing you like?
This is the only Apple thing I like. And yesterday, though, I didn't like it very much because it kept like pausing or like buffering, and then it would stop and it's like, oh, we can't play back. But so one of the shows, the only reason I really wanted originally was to watch the show called Hijack with Idris Elba. So I binged the whole season, except the season finale that was on this last week. I'll say, though, it was a really disappointing season finale. Like the whole show was good, and then the ending happened. I'm like, But it made me question, it made me wonder, if you were in a plane that was getting hijacked, would you be one who complied or would you be one who fought back?
Oh, that's a good question. I've thought about that because I thought about like Flight 93, where they
took down the hijackers.
Took down the hijackers, took down the plane. I'm like, because my thought is, because even on those flights, they didn't have guns, right?
No, they had box cutters on.
Yeah, 9/11. Box cutters. I mean, what are you gonna like? Box cutter, right? Yeah, you can get cut up. You might have some bleeding. It's not going to kill you.
They're not going to penetrate your heart. You're right. Unless they cut some sort of artery or some craziness.
Right, and there's probably a doctor on the plane or somebody who can stop it. So I'm like, why not do what they did on Flight 93, which was, according to the stories, is a group of dudes essentially got together and went and beat up the hijackers. You got 3 or 4 hijackers. You have 300 people on a plane.
Right.
Like I don't understand, and I can understand like maybe you can't get in, maybe they lock the door of the cockpit and you're stuck. But there were still people in the back of the plane, and I'm like, would I go do it myself? I think
pre 9/11, but
yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, they could still lock it. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know if but I don't know how often they did.
Even then, like whether they did, whether they didn't.
Right.
You have 1 or 2 dudes in the back of the plane, and you got 150 people. Let's say it's a Southwest flight, because I probably will only fly Southwest. Right. You got 100 people in there, 150 people. There's 3 guys aren't going to take the plane down, and all the ruckus is not going to make the plane move enough. But like, go freaking beat the guy up, right? I don't there's a bomb on the plane. Like we're going down anyways.
We're dead anyway. So take the chance.
Yeah.
That's how I even feel like if you've got a gun, because you only have a certain amount of bullets.
Well, I mean,
and it's hard to shoot. Okay, let's be honest. It's hard to shoot a moving target. You have to be like a sniper.
Here's the thing. Where are you moving in the plane?
Die.
You have one aisle. You're running down.
Correct.
So I mean, kind of coming right at him.
If you've got people coming from behind and in front, I don't know, like on the show on Hijack specifically, it was on like a huge plane that had like a business or like a first class,
like a 747 upstairs, downstairs.
Huge, right? And I'm like, there's a ton of people. And then I don't want to give away the show, but at one point they found out something that I'm like, why have they not
rushed him yet?
Done something.
Yeah.
Like, even if you couldn't get into the one inside the cockpit or whatever.
Right.
And even then, like on the show, they had it on autopilot because everybody knows that the pilot's not flying the plane the whole time. It goes on autopilot. But I'm just like, I don't know. The whole situation just had me think about it. And I was like, I feel like it would definitely be somebody who fought back. I can't imagine myself just sitting there and allowing somebody else to dictate what's going to happen in my life.
Yeah, I just, and I've never been in that situation, so I can't say, well, I mean, 100%. What we say now is not maybe how we would react. You have the fight or flight. I'm more of a flight, I think, than a fight in some instances. But logically, like you just rile up the 100 people on the plane and like, let's go get them, jump over the seats, like, beat the dude to death, like just kill the guy. And then even if you don't kill him, get him in an arm bar, do something where you're just beating the crap out of the guy. You know what I mean? Like,
and
just
that's
something. There's 4 of them. There's 5 of them. Maybe there's 100 others. There's 100 other people.
That's it. That's my thought. And again, I'm not in that situation. And I don't know how to react in that situation.
A lot of it though, too, man. A lot of it too, maybe do the people really know what's happening? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just, there's a lot of those situations though where I think about that. Like, I think as humans, or I think as members of society, you don't really want to assume the worst. I think, well, you do, I guess. Like, as a side note, when we were out serving papers the other day, that guy came up to me. Dude came up to me. I'm pumping gas. We're at the gas station. Dude comes up to me and he's like, very sorry. He had like a business shirt on. You could tell he was like working. He's like, I'm so sorry. I cannot find my phone in my truck. Like, do you mind calling my phone and so I can find it? And the first thought that came to my mind was, Holly's in the car. If I call this person, she's going to rip me a new one. And so I did use star 67. So it came up, restricted or whatever.
I mean, I was
like,
all
Holly
of the scenarios in my mind at the moment when you were calling. I'm like, what is he doing? Why is he doing this? Why is he going over there to the car? That guy's going to put him in the car. He's going to drive off with him.
First of all, there was no room in the car to
well, I couldn't see it. I just saw you had a big ass truck.
He was a detailer, like a mobile detailer, and his phone had fallen into the bucket where he keeps all his product, and he couldn't see it. He had a clear case and he couldn't see it. But anyways, it was just funny because we found it. But anyways, there's a lot of these situations and these scenarios that I go through in my head. And one is I go back to the Colleen Mall, and Sean Chandler, I think, was 6 or 7, and Todd was at the mall because he worked there. And I think Sean was there he was either there with Kathy or he was there with Shara or something.
Kathy.
And Todd runs up and snatches Sean and takes off. And I think Kathy went berserk and didn't know what was happening.
Someone's taken my son. Loses her mind.
Anyways, it was Todd. Everything's fine after that. But I think about that and I'm like, what would I do as an onlooker? Like, if a kid is like, this is not my dad. And then the dad's like, yes, I'm the dad. And I'm like, would I intervene? Because, you see these shows, like on, what would you do? And then they interview the person. Why did you do that? Well, I mean, there was a kid in distress. And so I think, like, what would I do if I'm walking down the street or walking through the store and somebody's like, that's not my dad. And he's like, come on, quit being a dummy, like whatever.
Right.
And I thought, what I would do is I would intervene and have somebody call the cops and let the police figure this out.
Right.
Because I would rather do that and be like, wait, this isn't going to happen. And then they realize the kid was being an a-hole and it really was his dad and he was just being whatever. But I would think, like, the dad, as a dad, I would think, like, obviously I'd be mad at the kid, but could I really be mad at that person who really was looking out for the kid?
Right.
My kid, you know what I mean? So I think, I would probably do that. I would probably intervene, maybe grab the kid and try to have other people help. But I think it just takes one person. Go back to your hijack. I think it just takes one person to kind of break the seal, so to speak. If one goes, everybody will go.
Everybody goes. And I've been in situations, in public situations, where you see things maybe like, I mean, in Colleen, this used to happen a lot when I bartended, where you'd have the guy just screaming at the girlfriend and being crazy. And I would always intervene. So I can't imagine, even if they started yelling at me or something. And then a lot of times the girl would turn on me. But leave us alone. This is our right. You're like, hey, this is clean. I just can't imagine sitting back. Like on the course of the show, it was like a 7-hour flight. They're like complying for almost the entire 7 hours.
How many hijackers?
There was like 4 or 5 hijackers. And I'm like,
on like a 747.
Huge plane. And I'm like, there's no way. There is no way.
Did they have guns?
They did have guns. But even with a gun, I mean, like, there was only one that was standing like at the front of like business class, but the rest in like, or first class, whatever, and they had the curtains closed. So it's like, and by the time you're at the back of the plane, you can't hear what's happening at the back of the plane anyway. Like,
so loud in an airplane anyways.
I'd have been all over it. I just can't imagine sitting there, even with a gun, like, hey, that's a chance I'm willing to take. Like, I'm going to take the chance that even if I die, 300 other people haven't died. Maybe
they'll revolt. But it's funny because like they hijacked a plane, they have guns, like full on, probably like, machine guns or like, semi-automatics.
Pistols on that show.
Oh, it was a pistol.
Pistols on that show.
Yeah, sometimes it's like they walked in with a gun on their back. You're like, how did you get in here?
And there was a way they like talked about all of that. How did they get around that situation and everything else? But in the end, I'm just like,
I mean, you can't get through TSA with a little keychain. That's a
Kubotan. Very true. Now, the flight did not originate in the US, but either way, like the way they were able to get it on, it was like, okay, I guess so. But even still, I'm like, I don't know. I'm just too much. I think too, like, I was going to say I'm too much of an asshole to sit back, but I don't think it's that. I think it's just like I'm going to stand up.
Right.
Like if I see that like somebody being badgered or belittled, or I even do this like even, I mean, there's been times I'm in the grocery store and little kids are being dicks and saying things to their mom, and I'll say like, hey, don't talk to your mom that way. And a lot of times the parents are like, thank you so much. Now I have had them like get crazy, and I'm like, whatever, kid's going to walk all over you if you let him talk to you that way. But I don't know. I can't imagine.
Yeah, I think with 9/11 though too, the Flight 93 had a lot more time to figure things out.
Correct.
Whereas I think the other two were a little bit
very quick,
faster flight.
And I don't recall that those were even full flights, really.
Yeah, I don't think they
because
were
they were super early. And I think the one that was 93, I think that one was later in the day, and it was a more full flight, and it was going a longer distance. So I mean, I do get it. And not that I'm criticizing anybody on those flights.
We don't know how we would have responded. I mean, we talk about it now, but we have no idea.
Right. I don't know how I'd respond in the moment. All I can say is like in moments where I've been in situations where something's happening that I feel very strongly I need to say something or do something, I've said and done. So it's, I don't know, especially when you're on a plane with that many people and there's a limited number. I mean, they're not going to they have to, because you think about it like, oh, well, they have a gun and they have all this ammunition. What if they have extra ammunition? Well, they got to load that gun at some point. So when they're loading that gun,
you're rushing them. Yeah.
Get on them. I don't know.
Yeah. It's we can talk about it all we want, but until we're in that situation.
Sure, but until we're in that situation.
What do we do?
True.
I'm trying to think if there was anything where I've had a situation like that where I'm like, well, if this happens, this is what I'm going to do. Because it happens to me all the time, or like I'll run scenarios in my mind. Maybe while I'm driving, or that guy's tire comes off of his car and starts coming towards me. What am I going to do? And those things never happen. But, you know, I try to think of situations, like I try to always plan out, like, what am I going to do? But then if I get in that situation, number one, do I remember that that's what I'm going to do? And number two, have I ever really even been in a situation where I'm like, if this happens, I'm doing this?
I mean, I have been in situations too, where it's like, I'm not going to put myself right in the face of danger. I'm going to try to avoid danger. So for example, like when Karen came up to Utah a couple summers ago, we saw a domestic dispute happening over the course of the day. Like it started out, you could tell like they were fighting at the start of the day. We were day drinking. It was like the 3rd, 4th of July. So we were sitting out on the balcony hanging out, and this couple increasingly throughout the day, it was getting more and more volatile, and you could tell they were getting more and more drunk and everything. And so I can remember at one point he's like screaming in her face. We couldn't hear what they were saying, because you could hear it, but you couldn't understand what they were saying. But I said to Karen at one point, like, if he hits her or lays his hands on her, I'm calling 911. Like, I'm not going down to intervene. I will call somebody else to intervene in that sort of situation. And in the end, we did call 911 because there was a physical altercation. We called 911, police came, that situation was handled. But in a situation like on a hijacking on a plane, or in a situation where you have to act fast and there is no alternative to call 911, right? I'd like to believe I'm the type that would fight, but not in that situation. I don't know.
Just hope we never have to be in that situation.
I hope I never have to be.
People have had to be, unfortunately. Just hope we don't.
Especially because I'm going to Utah at the end of the month and I have to fly. Hopefully there's nobody going to hijack that plane.
Well, Sam, Val's sister, was telling us last night about a story. She was watching a show called Night Stalker. Sound familiar?
Mm-hmm. Documentary?
Is
this about
it's a true story.
Night Stalker, serial killer, Night Stalker?
He would come in and he would rape you at night? Yeah. Okay,
the Night Stalker.
She was watching that till 2 a.m. one time. And all of a sudden it gets windy, and she hears stuff, bing, bang, boom outside, and immediately thinks that somebody has moved her backyard patio furniture, and it's banged into each other, and somebody's coming. Well, her neighbor was an ex Border Patrol. And so she calls her neighbor. It's 2 a.m. Calls her neighbor answers, and he's like, somebody's breaking into my house. There's a bunch of noise out back. Neighbor's there. She's like, I'll be there in 30 seconds. She's over there in 30 seconds, has her gun drawn, has her flashlight, like she's, full on
she's ready to go.
Border Patrol in her pajamas. And she's like, Sam answers the door, and the girl's like, get by me, let's go. And so gives her a flashlight. She's like, you look this way, I'm going this way. Da, da. So then she's like, were you watching a scary movie? She's like, I was watching Night Stalker. She's like, girl, turn off the movie, get in bed, and go to sleep. Like, what are you doing? And of course, it ended up being like the patio furniture or whatever, like wind hitting things. And she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, first of all, your neighbor to answer the phone at 2 a.m, like, good on her. But that's real. That's like you.
Not disturb.
That's like you though. Like, I could see you being a little paranoid.
I just put on my glasses and get my gun.
I don't know what she's got, but anyways, that's an interesting topic of what would you do? and
I'm curious what our listeners would do. Put in the comments if you think that you would comply or fight back. You don't have to give any explanation.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Maybe we'll put it on a poll. If you were in a hijack situation, would you comply or would you fight back? That's a good one. We haven't had a poll in a while, so let's throw a poll up.
Yep. Well, I'm going to Utah at the end of the month, and I'll say I have to go out there for work. And
one thing you do is you text me every time your flight number, when you're supposed to land and all that stuff. So
listen, I send several people that because I'm like, if there's a plane crash, I need people to be able to reference that was Holly on that plane that went down.
Yeah.
So I send like, hey, I'm boarding this flight. This is where I'm going in case it's hijacked something, but I'm flying overnight. I'm going out. So I have to go out because we have a new colonel,
right?
Base commander, and they want to have an in brief.
Okay.
So I'm flying out Sunday. I messaged my hairstylist. I'm like, yo, Danielle, can you get me in? She says, I can get you Sunday. So I was like, great. We'll do Sunday for my hair. Then we'll go out for dinner and drinks. Then I'm driving to Dugway. And then I have that brief Monday morning at like 11. And then I'm getting on a plane. I'm not even there for 24 hours.
Wow.
$1,000. Mm. I had to pay out of pocket because that was one of the ways I got the government to agree to let me move was anytime I have to go back there for anything, I'd pay out of pocket because they're like, right. We'll never have to have you come back for anything basically. So anyway, hopefully on that flight.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Nothing happens. But now I'll probably be thinking of that the whole time. Like who looks suspicious around
here? Don't you do that anyways?
I mean, sometimes.
So when you go to the restaurant, are you one to sit back to the door or are you one that kind of looks for situations? Okay.
I have to be facing the door. I have to fit. I usually try to face the door and sit close to an exit or a window, something that I can break to get myself out of if that situation. And that's just from Dad and Luby's.
That just, anytime I think about that, I think of the guy that portrayed the guy who broke the windows, like through the table over, broke the window. That dude was ginormous, huge. But the guy in real life wasn't as big as the guy who portrayed him.
Because I think what was going around originally was that he ran through the window.
Yeah, so he portrayed.
So they had to portray it as a big, and in the end,
it wasn't like a muscular guy; it was a big fat guy.
Fat guy. But he didn't run through the window. He threw like a chair or a table or something through the window. But the stories that came out after it happened was the man ran through the window.
Yeah.
So anyway.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up, Holly. And the other day, we'll wrap it up with this. The other day, I see that there's a car accident on my way home, and driving up the tollway, and it said left lane closed, like half a mile. But the left lane was still open and it was completely empty. So do you take the left lane or do you merge? Because everybody's all of a sudden merged half a mile back and just getting in line and just being a sheep, right?
So this actually happened on the way to your house because they have the left lane closed on the tollway. And then I start seeing it says like left lane closed in half a mile. And then all of a sudden all the cars start getting over. And I'm like, well, I'm going up till the half a mile till it closes.
Right, because the lane's still open.
Right. So I drove all the way up. And then, to merge, you're supposed to do like the zipper method,
right.
one car. And it's like people don't understand the zipper method or are like,
they're mad that I
stayed in the left lane, even though
I waited all this time.
I'm like, but you didn't have to. The lane was open. You could have just gone up. So then they are like stubborn and ignorant, don't let you in. And then you can see them like on purpose. They're looking at you, mean mugging you because you've stayed in the lane that's open until it merges. And I'm like, it's still open.
I saw something the other day. I bring that up because, I was like, dude, I stay in the lane until it merges because the lane's not closed for half a mile.
Correct.
So why are we all getting over? And,
everybody.
And there was something that my brother-in-law had posted up because my wife's uncle had posted something about, he hates the people who stay in the lane, basically. And my brother-in-law was like, well, you realize, your own county where you live put out, and he posted this thing, put out this deal, like the zipper method is fastest. If everybody stays in every lane and moves and then merges, that's faster than everybody piling up in the back because you have a half a lane of traffic that's piled up behind that could be over here just merging through.
Right.
So that's an interesting thing. And there's just so many people that obviously all those people are like, just follow, well, I got to get over. It's half a mile. No, you can go half a mile. Well, I don't want to,
go all the way.
Get in front. Well, the lane's not closed.
Well, then I also love there's a part on the way from my house to your house where the left lane just ends.
Yeah.
You've got to get over. So I have a fast car. So I will speed down that left lane to get in front of people. And you can see them all pissed off, like trying to speed up. And I'm like, bro, you're not going to catch me.
Right.
Like why does it matter if I get in front of you? Because I'm cruising. It's not like I'm going to get in front of you and then slam on my brakes and we're going to go 5 miles an hour. But I don't know.
So that happened to us one time in Arkansas. The family was in Arkansas for something, but it had rained a lot. And so to get to Heidi's house, you had to go, through the town, but it was all flooded. And so they had like a pilot car that would go back and forth. Like it wasn't like there was probably 1.5 to 2 feet of water. Like the water came up almost to the door.
Oh, wow.
And had the Chrysler 300 at that time.
Oh,
and
shoot.
so it kind of came right up to the door just about. But the pilot car would take you through back and forth. Well, of course, traffic's all the way backed up. And we got in line. And this is kind of where it changed for me. We get in line and we're waiting. Well, Brett and them come through in their big old van and go flying on they passed everybody, I think, on the shoulder, or it was like right lane closed. I think it was right lane closed ahead. And so they just kept going. I think the lane was still open. And I was like, get over. I'm like, no, we need to, follow everybody, And they went in 2 hours. We waited 2 hours. And they're like, yeah, we've been here for 2 hours, because they went all the way to the front, merged in and got over. And we waited the whole time. And then it was like we missed out on food, and then we had to leave. And so it was just, I was like, after that, I'm like, dude, I'm staying in the lane until it closes. If 4 people don't let me in, somebody's bound to let me in at some point.
And here's the thing. I just start to go.
Mm-hmm.
I just start to merge, because they're going to stop. They're not going to want to get in a wreck. They don't want to wreck their car. They don't want to deal through that. So I'm like, if you're not going to let me in, I'm just going to go. I'll have to cut you off. Yeah. And you want me to be the bad guy because I had to cut you off, when really you're not the one letting me merge, when that's the law. You have to let me merge. So.
Well, I'll throw that one up on the poll as well. In a situation of a lane merge, do you wait till the lane merges, or do you get over and wait in the long line? So we'll see what happens. Well, Holly, good discussion today. I think I'm going to go. I'm going to go make some plans. If things happen, how am I going to react? That's going to be.
You have to practice.
Yeah, we'll have some run-throughs.
Worst case scenario practicing. There you go.
Have some run-throughs with the kids. I think that is important too. Not to go back, but we always had a plan. I think as a family, didn't we? As growing up, it was like, if there's an emergency, you're gonna, you got to meet here. I think that's something we need to refresh with our kids as well. Like, if cell phones go down, there's an emergency. Where do we meet? Where do we find you? And I can't remember where we met. All I remember is our safe word was Amelia Bedelia. Amelia
Bedelia. Did I ever tell you this story? Real quick, fast story. This one cracks me up. I had told Pat Colby about the password. And I remember Mom and Dad saying, even if we send so-and-so, the Chandlers or people, we will give them the word. We will tell them to say Amelia Bedelia. Like, what's the secret password? If they don't know that password, we did not send them to pick you up. Do not get in the car with them. So I tell Colby this story about Amelia Bedelia, and he's probably 7 or 8. At the time, we lived in Killeen. He's got his little best friend named Izzy, who lives on the next street over. She knocks on the door and says, hey, do you want to come out to play? And Colby says, well, what's the secret password? She goes, well, I don't know. And he goes like, sorry, I can't go with you, and shuts the door. And then he tells me the story. I'm like, well, Colby, she was just wanting you to go play. She's not going to know a password. He's like, oh, I didn't think about that. I was just thinking Amelia Bedelia.
Amelia Bedelia.
Amelia Bedelia.
That was if somebody wanted, hey, I got candy for you. I'm supposed to pick you up. Oh, what's the password?
Right.
Amelia
what's
Bedelia.
Password? Amelia Bedelia.
That's funny.
I mean, that's a good little technique, though.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, we do that. I don't remember what our password is.
You better find out now.
I can't remember. But
see, you just got to teach them Amelia Bedelia. That's going to be the password.
I think that might be our password. Well, I got to change it now. If that was our password, I got to change it. But
true story. Dang it.
I know. Dang. All right. Well, Holly's good hanging out with you today. Thanks everybody for being on and listening in, and we will see you next time on the show.
See ya.
Hey, what's up, my channel? Please hit the drop a like and hit the subscribe button. Looking for my first subscriber. Can't subscribe myself. Can't do that for some reason. I don't know why. Wish you could.